the Madman! And now we go into looking at the class cards and their effects that will be felt on rotation. In this video, we'll cover Druid, Hunter, and Mage.
Time waits for no one.
Druid was pretty infamous during this year, finally getting the nerf bat at last by nerfing 2 classic cards of Wild Growth and Nourish. But until then, Druid had a good 1 or 2 year run, really? The sets that are rotating out from the year of the Mammoth carried Druid in both the Jade era as well as this just general big Druid do whatever you want era. Starting with Earthen Scales, like that was a really cheap card to put on a huge Jade and gain a lot of armor. Pretty nice. Also used in these Mechathune decks. The Druid quest never saw some serious play, but it was around as a low tier deck with Jungle Giants and with Giant Anaconda and Elder Longneck, even Shell Shifter. Living Mana provided a nice kind of all-in for the token decks. Tyrantus! It turns out that if you print a minion big enough and it can't be targeted by spells or heroes powers, like this guy actually saw a little bit of play in the era where it was Druid versus Druid and there was no answer for Druid against Druid to Tyrantus. Interesting era where that Tyrantus actually saw play. Frozen Throne is where Druids really got the goods, between Token Druid getting Druid of the Swarm and Crypt Lord, Strong Shell Scavenger and Spreading Plague working so well together. Spreading Plague used to cost 5 mana, oh my god! And of course Malfurion the Pestilent, providing so much value for Druids. And oh hey, look at that! This is like a archetype in its own. Hadronox, Ultimate Infestation, a reveal card of mine, was a little bit good, but I feel like Blizzard was accurate in saying Ultimate Infestation isn't the problem, it's other cards that are the problem. And they hit the Nourish and they hit the Wild Growth, and Ultimate Infestation, suddenly you don't see it that much more because you don't see Druid very often. And Kobolds and Catacombs gave Druid even more power with this really good 1 mana deal 6 damage card. You saw Greedy Sprite, Astral Tiger here and there. You saw Barkskin in the Mechathune deck as a cheap cycle. Branching Paths, more survivability. Ironwood Golem and Oaken Summons, more survivability. Twig of the World Tree, more combo. So yeah, Kobolds and Catacombs really boosted Druid even further. It's like every single expansion was, oh man, can we give Druid even more stuff? Even more stuff? Yes, let's do it. So with all these cards rotating out, Druid loses a lot of defensive options. It loses a lot of token Druid as well with Druid of the Swarm and Crypt Lord. It loses Hadronox. It loses the big endgame Ultimate Infestation. Druid is gone, isn't it? What even came out for Druid this last year? Almost nothing. So let's take a look at what lies in wait for Druid in the future. Well, we have one good control card left for Druid, Ferocious Howl. At least it's got that going for it. In Witchwood, Druid got 2 main mechanics, Hand Druid and Treant Druid. So will those be explored more? Well, with the super powerful Druid cards of the past rotating out, these cards finally get a chance to shine. And I will point out how many Treant synergies there are. So there's Witchwood Apple. Well, that was it at the start. But then in Boomsday, you got the Treant synergies. Dendrologist, Landscaping, Tending Tauren, Mulch Muncher. Along with good cards, Phlebidinous Floop and Juicy Psych Melon, so Big Druid could come back as well. Dream Petal Florist, also big card. And with Rumble, Tree Speaker is a big Treant synergy card, but also provided Druid with this idea of attack power matters between Pounce, Spirit of the Raptor, Savage Striker. And while there was internal synergy as well with Predatory Instinct, Stampeding Roar, Gonk/Ironhide, that probably is a little bit too low powered. So the future for Druid seems to lie in a base of Treants and or perhaps attack power. It's gonna really depend on what the new expansion offers Druid, but clearly all of Druid's current archetypes have been stomped. So Druid hopes to get some good stuff in the next expansion. Barring that, it hopes that it can manage to hold against the other classes with its previously low-tier Treant deck. But worth mentioning is none of the Treant stuff is going at all, so at the least, that's a baseline for Druid.
Time moves quickly.
Hunters are losing a decent amount of the start that they had as well. A little bit of Jeweled Macaw was played, but Crackling Razor Maw was ridiculous. A 2-mana 3/2 beast, which adapted, which is often worth at least +1/+1. It's like a Shattered Sunny Cleric, which costs 1 less mana and has a beast tag. This will be felt in mid-range Hunter quite a bit. They also have lost a lot of Death Rattle activators in Stalker and Play Dead. That's all of them, in fact. But they also lost the thing that they were activating with the trigger Death Rattles, the Egg of Devilsaurs. Hunters also lose 2 big traps, Venom Strike Trap, as well as Wandering Monster. Bear Shark, lost for mid-range Hunter as well. Stitch Tracker was here and there in some Control Hunter decks. This guy, he's kind of a big loss. The 1-card win card against Control decks, a little bit of a loss. You haven't even seen the Massacre yet, so Venom Strike Trap, one of the traps, Wandering Monster, one of the traps. Kobolds and Catacombs is where Deathstalker Rexar really started to shine, because when Deathstalker Rexar came out, I reviewed it as, this is like the best Death Knight, but Hunters have like no good cards. Well, here came the good cards. Candle Shut, Wandering Monster, Lesser Emerald Spellstone, Flanking Strike, To My Side, actually ended up being good. Rockdalar, required like a few more sets and a few more good spells, but those came out in the next 3 sets. Kathrina, so we lost Spell Hunter, we lost 2 big secrets for Secret Hunter, we lost the Spellstone, which is the reason why Secret Hunter was even good. Candle Shot and Flanking Strike were just good cards that were in pretty much every Hunter deck. And Big Recruit Hunter is also missing. What are you getting as a replacement for this wave of Hunterstone that you have hit us upon for so long? Well, remaining are actually a bunch of B-list Hunter cards that you haven't seen very often. There's this secret, which you often saw as like a one-of in those secret decks. Houndmaster Shawl is very good for mid-range Hunters. Wing Blast here and there. Efficient card, which I'm sure we're gonna see a lot more from Hunter decks now. In Boomsday, there was this entire Goblin Bomb idea. I'm not sure if the Goblin Bomb idea is strong enough to go anywhere, but there is still Spider Bomb and Fireworks tech. There's still decent mechs, but hard to say, given how weak mechs appear to be, whether or not Hunters will use any of this mech package. Let's see what the future provides for Hunter. And it was in Rostacon's Rumble where mid-range Hunter really stepped up with Spring Paw, and this wasn't really played much, but this could be really a thing now. Head Hunter's Hatchet. Revenge of the Wild, not really a thing also, but when your power level goes so far down, Revenge of the Wild seemed really good at first, but in practice other cards edged it out. Maybe now with those cards gone, Revenge of the Wild will edge other things out. Master's Call, strong with the beasts, of course. So these 4 cards should form a baseline for Hunters in the future, as well as maybe even Spirit of the Lynx. Alazi, perhaps? Is it finally time for this Loa to shine? They've also got Baited Arrow, though this card was mainly seen in just specifically Spell Hunter decks. And Zul'jin, though Zul'jin mostly saw play in exactly Secret decks and or Spell Hunter decks, mostly because of Spellstone. Zul'jin might become quite weak, especially when you look at all those spells that were there. It's like, whatever. Hunters in the future are mainly going to get their baseline, it seems, from Rostacon's Rumble, and it looks like their baseline is appropriately some beasts.
I wonder.
Mage began with a pretty spicy quest, Open the Waygate, which saw play more so in tournaments because of the nature where you could just crush control decks with your OTK Open the Waygate quest deck. So Quest Mage finally rotates out, didn't get much recently because the tools for it just weren't there. Loses some excellent general all-around cards in Archaeologist and Primordial Glyph. Meteor, an excellent control card. All these elementals were quite strong too. Pyros and Steam Surger, but never quite on the level to outmatch the other decks out there. Frozen Throne, most of these cards didn't see much play outside of one very special exception. Frostlich Jaina carried control mages on her back for the greater part of a year, and Syndragosa, Jaina's assistant in those big control decks. Kobolds and Catacombs provided Mage with the big spells, Dragon's Fury, Raven Familiar, Dragon Color Alana, so big spell Mage is right out. Also provided Mage with a lot of card draw, Aluneth, which allowed Murloc Mage to thrive because you could play out of all your Murlocs and then play Aluneth for the reload. Explosive Ruins also removed as one of Mage's best secrets. Mage kind of getting crushed, and that's even with the context that Mage currently does not have a good deck. And that's even in the context that Mage currently is not that popular, with its only decent deck being Control, and it's not very popular. Oh yes, Artificer also going for the big spell Mage. Now, what lies in the future for Mage? Well, we have this baseline Arago Book of Specters thing, which was pretty good on Murloc Mage. We've got some Vexcrow action, which has the potential to give you a lot of value. There's a decent card overall, Keysmith. Hopefully we get a good secret. Boomsday provides Mage with the spell damage package, Anomaly, Shooting Star. Stargazer Luna, still very good. Are we going to start seeing unexpected results? Maybe there will be more spell damage cards printed? And in Rosticon's Rumble, there was the Hero Power Matters cards. So at the very least, there's still Daring Fire Eater and Janali. But yeah, overall, Mage looks pretty fractured, and there's no clear direction for Mage going forward. The next expansion is probably going to have to firmly set Mage on a path. Right now, it's just a bunch of odds and ends. There's like 2 elemental cards. There's a bunch of hero power matter cards, but how much do hero powers really matter? And there's just a bunch of like, spell damage matters, but there's only like 3 that are actually good. Drawing minions is cool. So kind of 3 different directions Mage starts off, and next expansion is gonna set Mage securely on a direction, or Mage is going to be pretty unplayed. Next video, we take a look at a different story. Perhaps these classes' futures will be brighter in Paladin, Priest, and Rogue.